The chandeliers glistened like captured stars, the string quartet played softly in the corner, and every guest in the ballroom seemed dipped in luxury. It was the kind of night where diamonds sparkled louder than laughter, and the clink of champagne glasses painted a picture of perfection. Yet, in the middle of that grandeur, a sudden, shattering gasp cut through the music. Gasps rose as a powerful man, a billionaire whose very name carried weight across continents, clutched his chest and collapsed onto the polished oak floor. His fall was heavy, final, terrifying. Guests froze, their designer shoes rooted to the ground, their perfect smiles shattered. Nobody moved. Nobody knew what to do. But from the edge of the room, a young waitress with trembling hands and braided hair dropped her silver tray and rushed forward. Her name was Clara, and in that one moment, her life would change forever. If you believe in kindness, second chances, and the quiet power of ordinary people rising in extraordinary moments, please take a second to like this video, share it with your friends, comment your thoughts, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more stories that warm the heart. Clara wasn't supposed to be there that night. She had begged her supervisor for extra shifts because her younger brother needed medicine they could no longer afford, and her mother's debts were suffocating their family. The gala felt like a different universe to her, where chandeliers replaced light bulbs and laughter replaced struggle. She carried trays of hors d'oeuvres with quiet grace, her dark eyes avoiding the gaze of the wealthy who rarely noticed her. But she had noticed everything, the way the billionaire, Leonard Hargrave, had smiled stiffly all evening, the way his face occasionally winced when he thought no one was looking. When Leonard collapsed, the crowd of wealthy elites, people who controlled banks, industries, and empires, stood paralyzed in fear. Phones were lifted, whispers shot across the room, but nobody knelt down. Clara did. Her knees hit the floor, her palms pressing desperately against his chest as her heart thundered inside her ribs. She had no formal training beyond a CPR workshop she once attended at her brother's school, but she remembered every word, every motion. She pressed down, counting in her head, sweat dripping from her forehead as the glittering gowns and black tuxedos formed a horrified circle around her. "Come on," she whispered, her voice trembling as she pushed again and again. Leonard's face was pale, his lips tinted blue, and time seemed to stretch into something endless. She ignored the gasps, ignored the fact that security guards were shouting for an ambulance, ignored the way the room blurred from tears burning her eyes. All she saw was a man on the edge of death, and all she could do was fight to pull him back. The room, once buzzing with opulence, now throbbed with silence. Clara's hands moved with urgency, her breath quickening with each push. She tilted his head, breathed into his lungs, pressed again. A few of the guests turned away, unable to watch. Some muttered that it was hopeless. But Clara refused to let go. She thought of her little brother, how his chest rose and fell as he slept beside her each night, how fragile life could be. She thought of her mother's tired eyes, her endless sacrifices. She thought of what it meant to fight, even when the world expected nothing from you. And then, it happened. A faint gasp, a twitch of Leonard's hand, a flicker of life in his eyes. Clara's chest tightened as relief poured through her, but she kept going until she was sure. Within minutes, paramedics stormed into the ballroom, pushing guests aside. They took over with practiced precision, but one of them looked at Clara and whispered, "You saved him. Without you, he wouldn't have made it." The crowd erupted into scattered applause, but it wasn't the loud, careless applause of an audience at a show. It was hesitant, emotional, almost guilty. These were people used to buying solutions, not witnessing courage. Clara's trembling hands were red from the effort, her uniform damp with sweat, but her eyes burned with something stronger than exhaustion. Leonard was taken to the hospital that night, and Clara returned home quietly, slipping back into the shadows of her small apartment. She didn't think much of it, she wasn't a hero, she told herself. She just did what anyone would have done. But the truth was, not everyone would have stepped forward. Not everyone would have risked failing in front of the most powerful people in the city. The next morning, her name was everywhere. Waitress saves billionaire at Gala, the headlines blazed. Her phone buzzed nonstop, her small world suddenly lit by the blinding light of recognition. But Clara kept her head down, tying her apron again, ready to work another shift. What she didn't expect was what happened a few days later. Leonard Hargrave himself, pale but alive, walked into the very restaurant where she worked. The place fell silent, forks pausing mid-air, as the billionaire approached the waitress who had saved him. Clara lowered her eyes, embarrassed by the attention, but Leonard lifted her chin gently with the kindness of a man who had glimpsed death and returned. He spoke with a voice weighted by sincerity, thanking her not just for saving his life, but for reminding him of something he had forgotten: human connection, the fragility of existence, and the strength found in unexpected places. Leonard, a man who had built empires yet lost touch with humanity, made a vow then and there. He paid off Clara's mother's debts in full, set up a trust for her brother's medical care, and offered Clara a scholarship she had never dared to dream of. She resisted at first, feeling unworthy, but Leonard insisted. He told her that sometimes life sends people into our path to remind us of what truly matters. Clara had been that person for him. The story spread far beyond the city. People spoke not just of Leonard's survival but of Clara's courage. In her, they saw themselves, the unseen workers, the quiet fighters, the ones who carry the world's weight without applause. Her act wasn't just about saving one life, it was about reminding thousands of others that bravery doesn't wear a tuxedo or a diamond necklace. It wears an apron, tired eyes, and the will to act when no one else will. Months later, Leonard invited Clara and her family to another gala, this time not as servers, but as honored guests. Clara walked through the same golden doors, her dress borrowed but her heart full. She stood beside her mother and brother, not as the invisible waitress, but as a symbol of courage. When she looked around the ballroom, she didn't see just wealth and power anymore. She saw people, fragile, flawed, and capable of change. If this story touched your heart, please don't forget to like this video, share it with your loved ones, and subscribe to Kindness Corner. Your support helps us spread more stories of hope, courage, and unexpected kindness.